everyone. You're probably going to be watching this on the replay on my YouTube channel. So, hi. um, and thank you for watching. You're probably a candidate attorney or you're just curious. So you're welcome to this live, to this video, and hopefully the story that we're going to be sharing today as part of our CA Diaries series is going to be one that inspires you, that gives you hope, that gives you tools, and of course lets you know ultimately that you're not alone in this struggle. So today we have lots of people joining us. Welcome. It's nice to see everyone on a Saturday. Today we're going to have Mtho Mapembela, who is going to share his story of being a candidate attorney and some of the difficult areas that he's experienced, which, as I'm sure to most of us, is exactly what all of us are going through, or all CAs go through. But the brain does a funny thing to us. It makes us think that we are suffering alone. So Mtho will be sharing his experience and, of course, creating a resource. We are creating a resource through these videos that you can go and watch over and over again, even recommend people to watch over and over again, to empower you, to encourage you, to inspire you. And also perhaps even to reach out to the people that feature in the videos so that if they are willing to help you further, then, that will be a meaningful relationship for you. Okay, so I'm waiting for Mtho to come send me a video request so I can include him in this live. So while I'm waiting, I'll just preface I think what he's going to say with the fact with this, that the series is not meant to bash or to demonize principal attorneys and law firms and law firm culture. It's just giving a voice, creating a community for this group that's otherwise very marginalized, right? So it's not a political platform in a sense that we're creating a whole narrative against law firms and principals and the LPC even. So it might be referenced in the different stories that you will hear in the coming weeks as well, but it's not our intention to make anyone look bad. So, and for me, it's been very encouraging to have had the CAs on so far that we're willing to speak, because there's a fear that holds a lot of you guys captive, where you feel that even to post about it, even if you change the names and places and faces and all of that, that you still feel, my principal attorney is going to find out and they're not going to sign my papers and all that kind of a thing. So it becomes a very irrational fear. And then what ends up happening is that you just stay in that isolation and you think, I'm the only one that's suffering, woe is me. I can't speak about it, I can't write about it. My principal attorney might find out, I don't want to jeopardize my articles. So it's been, for me, to encourage CAs to speak out has been an uphill battle because of this fear, irrational fear. And I have to always say that it's just one firm, it's one attorney amongst thousands. They're not going to jeopardize your career. You need to speak out. You need to have some kind of an outlet for your struggle, especially negative, and I think positive experiences as well. We're designed to be social beings, so we need to vent. We need to speak. Some of us write better than we speak. But you need to get it out somewhere. And one point that I've been repeating throughout the series is that CAs, you are your own support system. you're your best support system because all of you are in the struggle together. It makes more sense that you guys form a community and we can support, because we are a little bit removed. We've gone on in our careers. Some of us has left active practice. So even though we can empathize, but we can't really, our help will not resonate as much as a fellow CA in your firm, or maybe in the same building, or across the road from your firm, where you can share the struggle, and even more than sharing the struggle and commiserating and just being miserable together, you give each other tips. You say, hey, you know what? You're struggling with that. I also struggled. Here's what I did. Because ultimately, you want to complain. I always say complain and construct. So you can vent, you can complain, you can cry, you can do whatever you want. Just nothing illegal, nothing destructive. But after you've done that, then you say, okay, what can I do to make it better? And if, as CAs, you form your own little communities, wherever you may find yourself, same area, same street, or even in PLT, if you have a band of friends there, you can form a community that where you empower each other. You can have your own little WhatsApp group or Slack group or whatever, and you can complain, but then you must also empower each other, give each other practical tips, how you did this, how you did that. Here's a shortcut, here's a trick, right? So that you are not just miserable together, but you are miserable and you're lifting each other up. Again, it's proven scientifically, psychologically, that having a social bond, having social connection during a difficult time in your life, whatever difficulty you might be going through, having a social connection is vital for you to come through. Because something like articles, PBT, the only way out is through, right? Unless it becomes so toxic, of course, that you just have to leave it. But for most of the time, the only way out is through. So you've got to figure out the best way, the most psychologically healthy way to come through. And one of those, you can say, tools in your toolkit, your survival kit, will be forming a group of CAs, forming a band, forming a community, where you might even not even discuss, it might not even be a legal group, maybe it's just a group of friends that you belong to, where you tell them legal discussions are off limits, and you just use that as a social group, as a place where you can even get perspectives on your problems at work that are not coming from people that aren't in the legal profession. That can be of immense value as well, to get perspectives, to get an objective view. And even they might even give you some pointers from their own work experience in other fields, right? So CA community is ideal, right? But if you don't have that, if you have a good group of friends, then use that as well. Use that as a sounding place, as a safe space. You may have one friend in that group that is your closest friend. Share what you're going through, right? Because some type of social connection, which to an extent this also fosters, but I'm talking about real life connections. Some type of social connection as a CA is going to help you more than you can quantify, more than you can, put a finger on. You'll say, hey, I don't know, but something about being in my friend group or being in the CA group is actually gave me the momentum, almost like a wind that's pushing you from the back, right? Where you're tempted to give up, but you have your friends, you have your colleagues that are pushing you forward, and in essence, you are pushing each other forward. So you are there to be helped, but you're also there to provide help and to provide a resource through what you are experiencing and how you are navigating, right? So the people that are coming on here as well, some of them are in it, some of them just got admitted. But they are talking from very recent experience. And some of the time, the experience is positive. But sometimes, even when the experience itself is positive, there might be other factors like having had to relocate for articles, or having to, um, do some kind of alternative arrangement for your articles that's not the orthodox way or not the usual way, where you're doing it by special arrangement and having to adjust to that. And maybe you are working in a firm that's bilingual, maybe that poses a challenge. So it's not just the work side of things, but maybe the surrounding stuff that can pose a challenge. So we've had people come on positive and negative experiences. So it's not just sharing from negativity, but it's also sharing the positive side of things. And then in doing that, what we inevitably unearth are the other challenges that surround the experience that you might be dealing with. For example, relocation, right? Where your articles might have been positive, but you had to relocate, you had to find a new support structure in a new city, and that makes the experience even harder for you to navigate. So if you come across a CA that's done the same thing, and they say, this is how I did, this is how I've made friends, this is how I um, kept in touch with my family from another province, this is how I navigated the language barrier, these are the apps that I use to improve my language, all of that, right? Those are the kinds of tools you should be getting from your community of CAs, and even your friend group as well. Okay, so that's I guess my introduction. Mtho is just having an issue with his devices. So if any one of you wanna hop on in the meantime, always welcome. Talk back. I don't like monologues and lectures. So if you wanna be in the video, at least temporarily, until Mtho gets on, you're welcome to send me a request and I will include you in the video. And if you yourself, you would like to be featured, or somebody who wants to talk about the experience and help other CAs, you can send me a DM here, or if you know me on LinkedIn, which you should, you can send me a DM there, and give me the contact details, and I'll get in touch with that person. Because I'm hoping to continue the series indefinitely, to build up this archive of stories, that, as I said at the beginning, people can revisit. And things are always taught better or understood better when you put it in a story, as opposed to teaching just the tools and the tricks and the coping mechanisms. Um, you know, by themselves, it's you tend to grasp things, and things tend to make sense, and stick with you when it's in a story, right? So you can you go revisit the archives and use it as your library to empower yourself. And if you know people that need to listen, then you can go and look at the other videos as well. It's on my YouTube channel, at Law Mom Lisa. Okay, Mtho is having a struggle, so I'm gonna try and add him to the live. Let's see if it works. Okay. Okay. He's unable to join. Hi, Mtho.
Hi there, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, I'm also not sure.
Okay.
I'm
No,
gonna try my best and work out a solution,
okay. No,
but yeah,
I,
I've
I
been
think sometimes it.
I've
I
been
think sometimes
struggling.
it works. When it records, it ends up recording both
Yes,
of us on the screen. So let's just
yeah,
proceed, and then we'll see
okay,
how the video turns
okay,
out.
okay, not a problem. But yeah, okay, so I think I'm just gonna just chime in. So my name is Mtho. Started my articles in 2022. So I think one of the things, I think I've been listening, and then I think one of the things that you touched on, which has been a big problem for me, would be the issue of having to migrate, moving from a university
Mm,
space,
mm,
and then now, so from moving from a university space and then now going straight now to doing your articles,
mm,
especially in a place where now you don't even know the language. So for
mm,
me, the big thing was that so I always say with this story, there's like some sort of luck. I'm not sure if that is a thing, but yeah. So I think there was some sort of luck. So when I got the chance to do my articles
mm,
with the law firm that I'm currently in,
mm,
um, I think I've applied to over 100 law firms. So big
mm,
law firms, medium-sized law firms. I went to the what's this website? Attorneys.co.za, where you can just see a list of all the attorneys. So I went in there, looked for small, medium-sized businesses, law firms, looked at boutique law firms, went there, sent my CV,
mm.
and then yeah, I think my email has been piled up with unsuccessful emails, so it's been like piling up over and over again. So it's one of those things that then affect you negatively in a way,
Mm,
where now you're telling yourself that what is the point then now of keeping on applying
mm,
over and over again, because you only receive one response, you
mm.
know so, and it's not really a positive response, because some law firms, what they tell you is that we are currently not looking, but we're just going to keep your
Oh,
CV.
oh,
When that time comes, we'll then approach you. So
oh.
in May 2022, I went
Mm,
for an interview at ELS Fagute Incorporated. I think after a week, they got back to me. They said, "Hey, listen, you have to start on the 1st of
mm,
June." So now I stay in the East Rand of Johannesburg. Now
mm,
the firm is in Pretoria. So now you have
mm,
to now migrate from this side now to Pretoria.
mm, mm.
Pretoria is foreign to me. So at that time, Pretoria was foreign to me. It's a foreign land. I don't know anything. Um, when I got there, only to find out that majority of the people, they only speak Afrikaans.
Mm,
I don't have an Afrikaans background. I don't understand Afrikaans. At that time, at least now I can understand here and there. But
yeah.
at that time, I didn't understand Afrikaans. I was just there. Um, we were just vibing. Yeah, just
Mm,
vibing with Afrikaans. Because now, so now I was put in a place where now I have to then learn.
yeah.
So it's a new area, it's a new location, it's a new job.
Mm,
Now I have to then learn a new language, which was
mm,
foreign to me,
mm,
you know. So now when you get to such a space and a place, I think one of the big things is to be friends with Google. because Google has helped me a lot, especially with the translations. I'm
Yeah.
always going to say that Google is one of the greatest inventions for us, because I had everything that I got that was in Afrikaans. I just translated it. So I got to Google Translate. If you get a will that is written in Afrikaans, I
Oh.
just go to Google Translate everything there. Then after that, I think I started grasping those few terms, those few Afrikaans
Mm.
terms here and there. And then I think I got a hang of it. So there's a few things that I'm still learning. So I am getting there. But I
Mm.
think the big thing is that was the experience. So because you then get to a point, especially before you get articles or signing that contract of articles, in your mind it's that, so you've started applying. So I started applying, I think, in when I was doing my final year.
Mm.
Yes, when I was doing my final year. So now I start applying, start approaching law firms, start doing all of that. So now receiving most of those emails which are saying you've been unsuccessful,
Mm.
it then I think it triggers something in you, which is you then get, um how can I put this, you don't really want to then proceed with applying, because now you are
Mm.
discouraged to apply, because you know that I've been applying in over like 100 law firms, and then some don't even respond to you, and then when the others respond, they just tell you that your application has been unsuccessful, but we'll keep your CV. And I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, okay, it's fine. It's fine. So I'll just wait for you to send me that email with the job offer.
Mm.
And finally, I think when I started working, I always tell the story that my father said to me, once you start working, you'll see that there's going to be people sending you emails, giving you calls, telling you, hey, are you still on the market? So we want you now. So now
Mm.
you just started this new job, you've just signed everything, and then now, but it, like, you then get approached after signing. So you've registered your articles, these law firms now, the ones that told you that your application has been unsuccessful, now they start approaching you. They're like, hey, are you still in the market? We see your CV. You sent us your CV in 2021 or 2022, but are you still on the market? So I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not on the market. I've started already. So you were too late. So yeah, that's one of those things. So I think that is a brief discussion of my story as to
Mm.
how I started in with my articles, and I think the biggest thing I think you've touched on is that the stories that we share, we do like relate to. So majority of the time, you will find someone that the story that they share you will relate to.
Mm.
So you might be lucky. You might find a law firm that caters for you, that pushes you to be a great person, that gives you all the tools that you need to strive as a CA.
Mm.
But you then do find law firms which really, like, they don't really care about you. So I think I
Mm.
was one of the fortunate ones that got a law firm that um, they really push us to be
Mm.
um, the best that we can be, because it's one of those situations where from the integration from varsity to
Mm.
then starting to work is that you are not taught how to be well integrated into a workspace,
Mm.
because that is like a foreign environment for you, because you're used to going to class, you're coming back, you don't even have to um, correspond with any clients, you don't have any responsibility or obligation towards any client. So now you're moving to a space where now you have an obligation to someone. You must tell that person, you must give that person updates. That person can call you at 5 to 4, and you know that you have to knock off at 4. It's your responsibility to answer that call.
Yeah.
Because now that person is in, you have to understand that they are calling you from a point where they don't understand the law, and now they have entrusted you with something of theirs that they think, or they have the mindset that you will do the job for them. So it's one of I think the integration part is one of the things that we still struggle with. So I've seen like a lot of stories on Facebook where people are like, but my director doesn't treat me well. But in some instances, you understand that some law firms, they don't really treat CAs the way that they have to be like treated, you know. And then you find stories that it's like us who just got into a law firm. We were lucky, we were grateful for the opportunity, and you are treated as part of the family of that law firm. So I think it's one of those things. So I think the biggest thing is integration. So moving from an education point of view to now starting your articles, now having that obligation towards someone, saying, okay, I have an obligation towards this person that I have to keep them updated on anything that I do on the file, so they must know what is going on the file. Yeah, I think I've touched a lot of things in just one space. Yeah.
I think that whole context of learning is a very peculiar learning space, because you're expected to train in a fully functioning workspace. Like you're saying, you have obligations to people. You have serious work to do, but you're still learning. So it does provide that confusion, I think, because at university you're used to everything being very closed off, it's very controlled, it's very sanitized. Everything is done in a lecture venue. You're
Yes.
safe. You've got your lecturers to ask, that kind of thing. But when you move from that to a workspace that must also serve as your learning vehicle, I think that's what makes it doubly hard. If you are moving into another learning space, like another, maybe more of an academic setting, they allowed PLT or PVT to happen in, maybe not in a law firm, maybe through some other medium where you could still be trained, then I think that may make a slight difference. But it's this whole thing about you in a real life, obligation filled, responsibility filled environment, but you're still learning. There's no slowing down of the pace, and the room for mistakes the margin is very small, and the patience is thin. So law firms are also not equipped. They're not equipped to handle a candidate attorney or handle a pupil advocate in the case of pupillage, because now you as a professional, you've gone on in years, you got experience, you know how things work in your firm. You don't have to explain anything. Everyone knows the rhythm, and suddenly you got this new person coming in, and they sort of forcing you to go back to basics and explain. And most lawyers don't have that capacity, understandably. But because the pathway to admission is only one avenue, you can only do PVT at a certain select number of outlets.
Yeah.
So either, and again, I think attorneys need to learn how to teach, learn to be patient. They might have to learn some new skills in order to not have unfair expectations on this LLB graduate, but at the same time, help them to integrate into the fully functional workspace. Because I think what ends up happening is that law students, they get treated like they're already admitted. It's all like they're
Yeah.
like an extra staff member. And so it's just, you're the new guy. Okay, here's a bunch of files for you. No
Yeah.
explanation, no
Yeah.
integration. It's just, you're just seen as another brain, another set of hands, another person to run around, another pair of legs, or another driver. So
Yeah.
it's that inability,
Yeah.
to integrate, I think, to orientate, that makes it very confusing for an LLB graduate to translate into that environment. It's very
I,
confusing,
yeah.
and of course, there's no empathy, there's no patience, there's no appreciation of the fact that, what, I also, even though I'm the owner of the firm, I also was like that person. I also started
Mm,
there. They aren't able to
yeah.
go back in time and even make themselves available maybe after hours. If the office is too busy, make themselves available after hours. There's none of that. So
Yeah.
you either gonna sink or swim.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that so they most of the principals,
Mm,
what they're trying to do is to carry on with a culture that, so I've experienced this, so this has happened to me, so now since I have a CA, so
mm,
you now as my CA, you have to go through the same thing over and over again that I went through. So it's
yeah.
now saying instead of changing the narrative or changing the culture or the tradition,
Mm,
it's now perpetuating the same thing over and over
yeah.
again. So I think it's one of the difficult things that we are seeing, especially in an old profession as ours,
Yeah.
that you see these things continually happen, where someone has now to has to have like this responsibility of now being an employee.
Mm,
Also now you must focus on your PLT. You must also take care of yourself, because you're also
mm,
outside of work, you're also an individual, so you also
yeah.
have to go back home and take care of yourself.
Mm,
So now how
mm,
do you then juggle all of these things? I think one of the key things that I learned is time management.
mm,
So that is one of the big things. So now
mm,
you find that you're in a situation where you have to start preparing for your board exams, for instance. So
mm,
you know that the boards are just around the corner. You need to start preparing. You need to start going through the books. You
mm,
need to make sure that you have all the resources on hand so that you can start preparing for the boards.
mm,
At that point in time, the workload is also high.
yeah.
So now, how do you then manage studying for the boards and also working? Because you have to do both of these things. And
Mm-hmm.
then out of these two things, you still have to look after yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you also have to find time and look after yourself, take care of
Mm,
yourself. So you are now thrown into this situation where you have to find a way in which you can integrate all of these things and do
mm,
them to the best of your ability,
mm.
because preparing for boards is not easy. You can't say, I'm going to do it after work. After work, you're
Mm-mm.
tired. after work, you're tired. So now you must find a way in which you can integrate all of these things now into one schedule. So you
Mm,
tell yourself that, okay, so if you know that maybe you're a morning reader,
mm,
someone who
mm.
knows how to read in the morning and
Yeah.
functions better in the morning, then start
Mm,
waking up maybe 2 hours earlier
mm,
then start studying.
Mm.
Then you utilize your weekends. Your
Yeah.
weekends will be one of those days where you can then push. So
Mm.
I think what we so I had a colleague of mine. So we were both studying for boards. So what
Mm.
we then used to do is that so Monday to Friday, we only stay behind at work for two
Mm.
hours. We study. After studying, you go home, you rest, and then on weekends we would meet up from 8 up until 7 p.m.
Mm.
So we would then structure our days on weekends where we study for 2 hours, we take a break, study for
Mm.
another 2 hours, we take a break. So I think so once you then find a rhythm in which you can
Mm.
juggle both work and also
Mm.
studying and also taking care of yourself, then you'll be in a
Mm.
better position to thrive in our profession because we see people crashing. You see
Mm.
people crashing,
Mm.
telling you that no, I can't do this. So you find other candidate attorneys leaving work at 9 p.m. So
Mm.
you also have to go back home, look after yourself, study for the boards, So it's one of those difficult things where I think it's one of these outlets. I remember following you on LinkedIn
Mm.
when you started like sharing like tips and on how to write like paper one, paper two, paper three. So those type of things were very helpful for us because
Mm.
we know that once you get the time to start studying, you have a PDF folder that you can just cross reference with, and it's done for you. It's already done for you. So you
You're
just go
welcome.
on LinkedIn, you download it. So you just go on LinkedIn, you download it, and then you just cross reference it because it's some of the things that have helped us in getting along with our profession. So I think I have you to thank for especially paper one. Yeah, I have you to thank for paper one because yeah,
You're welcome.
I was seeing flames, but yeah. So I think it is something that we as a profession we still need to adjust the culture, like perpetuating the same culture
Mm.
where you find people struggling. So you have to have a way in which as a principal you have a channel where the person can approach you and tell you, listen, this is what I'm facing, this is what I'm
Mm.
going through. So can you please just maybe reduce the workload as I'm focusing on my board exams? To which we know
Mm.
it rarely happens. So you might be fortunate when it happens. So like some people they don't really experience that.
Yeah.
So I always say I was a fortunate person. I
Mm.
was very fortunate
Mm.
that my director, I would approach my director and tell her that listen, I've started studying for the board. So
Mm.
if it happens that there's a new matter that maybe you want me to tackle, can I please just
Mm.
tackle it after writing the board? So
Mm.
it's at least they also know what is going on also in your personal life, because we
Mm.
can't always put the blame on the directors. So it's
Yeah.
also up to us to also have that conversation with them so that they also know what is going on, because you can't really expect someone to be a mind reader
Mm.
and only
Mm.
see the mistakes that you make and then expect them to then understand what you're going through. So you
Mm.
also have to have that difficult conversation with your director and inform them that, listen, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm studying for
Mm.
my boards. I have like 2 or 3 months left for me to start writing. So can you please
Mm.
maybe just reduce my workload? In
Mm.
the interim, yes, I understand after this I have to just go back in. You bring those matters to me, I'll tackle them. But for now,
Mm.
as I am preparing for the board, this is my timetable or this is how my schedule is looking. I
Mm.
have these matters that are still outstanding. So can you please just reduce the workload a bit so that I can deal with the boards, and then after that, yes, then I can tackle all the other matters that are still there. So I think it's one of the things that we also have to open up on ourselves,
Yeah.
make it an obligation on ourselves that we have to have that conversation with our directors, with our principals, inform them on what's going on, because they are not mind readers, you know. They also need to know what is going on, whether you're preparing for the boards, whether there's maybe you're also preparing for conveyancing or notary, you know. So you just inform them on your plans, especially if the plans will be beneficial to the law firm in the long run, you know. So that is one of the things that I think it's really difficult to do, especially if you just want to shy away and then want that person to read your mind that, hey, yo, I'm struggling, so just read my mind that I'm going through the most. And I think we also have to look at it from the director's point of view,
Yeah.
right? That if you come into work, this person is not telling you what's going on. This person is doing the work, they're doing it great. Everything is on point. They're submitting everything that has to be submitted. They're doing the liquidation and distribution account on point. They're serving someone's on point. So everything. So there's no mistake. You're not seeing any flaws. So in your mind, you're seeing this person and you're like, so this person can take on more responsibilities in the firm. So if you are not then approaching them and telling them that, no, listen, this is what I'm currently doing, I think it would be beneficial for me to maybe take a bit of like smaller workloads, and then I will then come back and then tackle those big workloads. I think that is one of the things that we need to, it needs to be spoken about.
Yeah, lots of weighty points there. It was one of the things that as I progressed in, I guess, helping CAs on LinkedIn is to make them see the other side, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So, and to make them take charge of the experience. So you you can't sit there and let articles happen to you,
Mm,
right? You have to have a plan, you have to have objectives, you have to know what you want, you have to know how to ask for it.
mm,
At the end of the day, you are not, you are just passing through that farm. So, and it's just something you have to do. So it is
mhm,
what it is. So one of the ways you're going to make it better is by having a plan, by getting into
mm,
articles with a plan.
mm, mm, mm,
And the reality is, like we said when I spoke previously, you gotta see things from the principal's perspective. And
mm,
I did a post recently about how risky it is to employ a candidate attorney.
mm,
And
mm.
one of my followers said, "Oh, this is a hard post." But and I said, "Well, I wouldn't be a law mom if I didn't tell you the other side as well, right?" I mean, that's looking at it from the perspective of the owner of the law firm, because you're
Mm,
getting somebody who is virtually an LLB graduate to handle the files of real people. That
mhm,
is a huge business risk. It can potentially open the firm up to malpractice complaints, hopefully not lawsuits, right? So
mm,
I had to bring out that perspective that as a CA, you pose a great risk to the law firm. It's not an easy thing. And if most law firms could look at it like that, they'll probably say, yeah, that's why we don't want CA. Not because we don't have the money or don't have the space, but we can't manage that risk. Which again is
mm,
something that as a CA you have to maybe factor into your plan and say, okay, how am I going to manage my own risk? The risk that I pose to the law firm, how am I going to manage that? How am I going to mitigate that risk and help the law firm to employ me in a sense, right? So there's
mm.
definitely
Uh,
that perspective of
yeah.
Um, yes, you are a CA. You are the least important person in the firm. Um,
Mm,
but but what CAs do is that they give all of their power away.
mm,
They give, and then, like I mentioned in my introduction, they allow themselves they nurture this fear, which then becomes irrational to the point where it
mm,
paralyzes them and they can't speak, they can't act, they can't assert themselves because they're scared he's not going to sign my admission papers. So if you nurture that kind of mindset and you give all your power away at the beginning, because they're the director, because it's a senior person, because if you surrender everything at the start, it's stuff's going to happen to you. You're going to teach people how to teach you, and they're
mm,
going to treat you badly.
mm-hmm. I think that is one of the biggest topics that so I think I'm going to deal with two things.
Mm,
So firstly is that when you're in university, you're not taught how to be an employee.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
now you're being moved from a place. I think we've spoken about this over the phone, that now when you're moving into the space of a law firm, you want to be babied
Mm,
because you don't understand this environment.
yeah.
This environment is very foreign to you, so
Mm,
it's not something that you know. So now you're moving from a space where you were not taught how to be an employee. You were
mm.
just taught that, listen, this is prima facie evidence. This is dolus eventualis. So these are the things that you need to know when you get there. Now the application part, and now when you have to get there and start applying, so you have this knowledge. You have this knowledge and it's there. So you've accumulated this knowledge for the entire time you were in varsity.
Mm,
So you have it. Now, when you get to that place, now you have to start being an employee. You are not taught how to be an employee. You're
yeah.
not taught how to give advice. So I think one of the things that we at varsity, what they tried to teach us was so they forced us to, so it not necessarily forced, but it was a prerequisite that in your final year you must do law clinic,
Mm,
so that you must have those consultations. You must
mm,
know how to deal with the client when the client is there. So
mm,
you must also know how to tell a client that, no, listen, we don't deal with such matters here.
mm,
So you must go to a law firm and go look at, maybe they might try and help you. So we were taught how to then be integrated. So when now our supervisor would say, no, go tell the client that, listen, we are not dealing with these matters here. You also have
mm.
that fear because you want to help this person. You're listening to
Yeah.
this story like, if I was in a better position, I would have helped you. But now you must go there because this is an instruction. You must
Mm,
go there and act on that instruction and tell that person that, listen, unfortunately, we cannot assist you with this matter.
mm,
Even though that person, you can see it in their eyes that they really, really need the help.
mm,
But you have to
mm.
go there and tell them that, no, listen, we can't assist you. And then I think, secondly, when it comes to us being CAs, one of the biggest things is that we don't view ourselves as being part of this big spectrum of this big
Yeah.
field of law. We
Yeah.
we just view ourselves as an isolated individual. So when you now start working, now you start facing difficult clients, because you will find difficult clients.
Mm,
You will find
mm.
clients that want an update each and every day. You will find them. It's not that you will have fun. No, you will find clients that will ask you that, listen, I'm going to call you tomorrow. I want an update. So you will find those clients. You will find
Yeah.
people who send you emails on a daily basis
Mm,
asking you for an update. So you will find that. So you have to view yourself. Also, you must look at yourself and say, there's certain things that I can control. There's
mm,
certain things that are not in my control. So
mm,
when you enter into a situation, for instance, a difficult client will always be there. It's not within your control. So you must look at, what is in my control. And what is in your control is how you respond or how you interact with a difficult client. So you do have situations where you have a client that wants to speak to you each and every day. You send an email now, they call you, they're like, explain this email. You ask, did you read the email? No, but you must explain it now to the client. So you get those situations, but now as a person, if you are in that other person's shoes, you must understand that they are now in a position where they don't really understand what is going on, and you are now given the responsibility to tell these people on what's really going on in that situation so that they know that if something is taking time, this person did inform me that 1, 2, 3 will be a delay in our situation, So at least if you inform the client, so it all comes back to how you then deal with certain situations, especially if you're in our field where you find people that really don't know what law is. They don't know how certain things apply. They don't know how certain things, especially when it comes to deceased estates, they don't really understand when it comes to interpretation of the will. So how a will works. Why is this person not receiving any benefit? So you must take them through that process. When it comes to contracts, you must inform them that, listen, in a contract, there's an offer, there's an acceptance. So once the offer has been accepted, there's a performance. So you must be in a position where you better equip your clients also, so that they also are in a position to know that this is what's going on. And since now you have informed me that we are in this situation now, so this is what I must also expect. Because as you stated, that we tend to give our power away, especially from the get-go. We give our power away. We are no longer autonomous in a way. So you're not really maintaining or retaining your autonomy. You then give all of your power away, so that from 8 up until 4, you are a powerless person. So you're auto responding to each and everything. So you are not really in that field to deal with those situations. So it's just you auto responding. So you're on autopilot throughout the day. And I think it's one of the most difficult things that I think it has to be viewed as a learned behavior. You have to learn to retain your autonomy in certain instances. Yes, you're an employee of this person. This person gave you an opportunity to fulfill your articles with the possibility of retaining you after you have been admitted. So then you put it in yourself that, okay, listen, so this is the opportunity that I have. And I know I have strengths and weaknesses and all of that. So how do I then, during this process, during this time, work on my strengths and weaknesses, improve also on your weaknesses, prove your weaknesses, so that you're in a better position to then be a viable asset also to the company, because I think we've come a very long way in this field, where we have to have those difficult conversations. As you stated, that it's very difficult to be a director or a principal to someone that doesn't have this information. They don't know how to do this. And in your head, you're like, okay, so you come from a big institution, maybe part of the top 3 varsities. You need to know how to draft a notice of motion. So you're not really expecting this person to make those mistakes, because it's what civil procedure 101, how to draft a notice of motion. So now it then becomes your duty then. So if in varsity they're teaching you, this is how to draft a notice of motion, this is how particulars of claim is supposed to be, now it's then your duty then now to start applying those things. Because when you write exams, it's an application. But yes, I'm also guilty of this, of just reading through something, you cram and then you pass and then it's done. It doesn't apply to me anymore. But now when you get into that field, now you find that very same thing that you've been taught in varsity, that this is a notice of motion. Now you must draft it. So now you must start from scratch. You must look for those law books, start drafting the notice of motion. So it's one of those things that I think we must have a duty to ourselves as CAs, that we must try and improve ourselves and be a better version of ourselves and be an asset into the field, so that when someone then employs you, even if they can't retain you, but they still have that mindset that you have been doing the best work ever that they've ever seen. So that also boosts your morale as a person, that you know that you're doing your work, you're doing it 110%. But also, you must also then remember that in this field, this person has to sign your admission forms. It shouldn't scare you in a way, but it's one of the things that you want to have, that in the back of your mind, this person has to sign my admission forms. This person has to sign my supporting affidavit stating that I was this person. I'm a fit and proper person. I've been doing this. So you must also have this mindset that, yes, this person gave me an opportunity. This person also has to sign my affidavit at the end of the day, because they have to then make sure that they're writing because they have to support your affidavit. They must not lie to court and say, yeah, you've done this, but they know very well that you, as an attorney, will struggle. You will struggle in the field. So I really agree with you that there's some difficult conversations that as CAs we must have. And those difficult conversations can only be had with yourself alone. So it's your duty to then look at how you are functioning in this place, and how then can you improve, especially the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing, this is one of the things that I wanted to touch on. The biggest thing that you need to learn, communication. Learn to communicate. Learn how to tell someone that, listen, this is what we are going through now. This is difficult. Yes, I understand, but this is what's gonna happen. Especially in instances where you find yourself, there's a delay. You need to learn how to convey that delay. Inform the client that, listen, this is what we are going through now. This is what's happening, and this is the delay. So this is how we can then better manage the delay. And also, I'm trying my best to mitigate those delays, because you must also show the client that you are trying your best to mitigate those delays. So if you're bad at communicating, this is really not your field, because you will struggle in this field if you don't try by all means to fix your communication skills. And also, most of the things that we are facing in this field, do not take it personal. It happens that someone communicates with you in a different way, because I've once had a client, I think it was in the first 2 months when I started. He told me straight, I don't speak English. I don't understand English. I don't speak that language. Only praat Afrikaans. So I'm in this situation. I'm like, say, me, I don't know Afrikaans, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work. I had to ask a colleague to assist, So I did inform him that, no, listen, I'm going to deal with your matter, but I don't understand Afrikaans. But we will find a person who's going to assist us, so that we have a two-way street of conversation. So this person would be the intermediary, then this person would convey the message. So you have to be honest with those people. Now imagine if I was there. I don't understand Afrikaans. This person's like, I'm here for a consultation. They start speaking Afrikaans. I'm there just smiling. I don't know what's going on. So it's better to then inform that person. You tell them that, listen, I don't understand Afrikaans, but I'll make a plan. I'll make sure that I find someone who's going to be our intermediary, and then we must have that conversation, so that I understand your matter and you understand what I am telling you about the matter. So it's one of those things I think we need to start polishing
Mm.
communication skills. I think it's one of the biggest things that we need to work on as CAs.
Mm. Yo, I think we have to do a part two. I didn't I didn't anticipate such a meaty discussion. There's a lot for me to respond to.
Yeah.
I actually want to make some notes now so we can pick it up again next week. Because
No problem.
obviously I've created content across various topics, communication being one of the things, taking your power back being one of the things.
Mm,
So there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to respond to, and I think if I can if I can touch on one point or respond to one thing that you said, is that you got to take that initiative to apply our knowledge, right? Right?
mm,
So I often get indignant at university because they didn't tell us the whole story, right?
mm,
But
mm,
now that you have this conversation or this kind of topic opening up, if you're a law student, you need to think,
mm,
okay, am I just studying for the exam, or am I studying so that I can recall it later? I'm hearing all these stories about CAs, how they struggle and how no one teaches them. So maybe I should keep my notes. Maybe I should keep my books. Maybe
mm,
I keep my
mm,
textbook. Maybe I keep my lecture notes. Maybe I
mm.
keep the recordings that I made of the lectures, right? So it's that kind of taking responsibility now, because nobody is going to gift you a library or sit down and re-explain everything.
Yeah.
So you have to now understand, look, what I'm learning now, maybe I'm in my third year, fourth year, I'm hearing all these stories about CAs, how they suffer. Why don't I keep some of my stuff so that I can help myself, I can mitigate the brutality of the experience
Mm,
by
mm, mm,
having all of my stuff. So when a principal doesn't have time to explain or re-explain local standard,
mm,
I got my books, I got my notes, I got my recordings from the lectures, I got the class videos or whatever, Zoom calls that we did. I got
mm,
all that. I can go and I can take the initiative now because I kept everything. I just go find my stuff and I can go and refresh my own memory.
mm,
You see, so I think it takes it right back even to the law students. You know
mm,
articles is what you want to do. You're in your third year, fourth year. You have to understand that those things are going to come in very handy. They might
mm.
even help you get through PLT a little bit better if you have your university
Yeah.
notes, right?
Yeah.
So there's that thing. There's that huge responsibility, because remember this, you choosing this career, right? So you have to,
Mm,
you know, different institutions, different stages. There are people to teach us, help us, like you said, baby us. Now, when you're coming into a corporate environment, it is not uh, like borderline irrational to expect your experience to be like university, where
mm,
there are
mm,
going to be those people and you are entitled to receive help. People are just supposed to teach you, they're just supposed to give you answers. No, that's not how the working world works. So what are
mm,
you going to do?
mm.
Are you going to cry and play the victim, or are you going to say, hey, let me I didn't keep my notes, let me go and ask my LLB friends,
Mm.
or let me go and maybe repurchase those textbooks or go borrow
Yeah.
them from the library. Let me sit on the weekends and refresh my theory, because there's nobody here to do that in this firm. And
Mm.
over and above that, nobody has the time to sit with me. So,
Yeah.
so I didn't keep my stuff, but let me go and sit at the law library or even at my local library if they have legal textbooks. And let me go and refresh.
Mm.
So that is exercising your autonomy in the whole knowledge and application of that knowledge. but you're not going to say, boo-hoo, no one's teaching me. You can't do that because, like you said, it's
mm,
a real client you have obligations to the client. You have to give them updates. So you can't sit
mm,
and play the victim for very long. You got to come up with
mm,
some strategy. And very often they are doing it in the moment. They are having to damage control, cope in the
mm,
moment. And then
mm,
they just go in that survival mode as opposed to saying, okay, the last case I handled like this, I didn't know anything about locus standi and I was embarrassed.
mm,
So maybe to mitigate that happening now, if I get another file like that, let me just resolve to spend a Saturday at the library just going through basic civil procedure concepts.
mm,
So I don't face that same situation but it was an embarrassment to my firm, and
mm,
I did get some bad atmosphere at the office because people were upset with me. So you gotta think like that.
mm.
And you gotta learn very quickly to think like that. So if you can do
Yeah,
it as a law student and know what you're getting yourself into, then you can set your mind. You can be proactive, have a plan, have
yeah.
strategies, figure out how you're going to manage your risk as a CA, figure out how you
Mm-hmm.
can improve your communication because you can't talk to your principal the way you talk to your parents or the way you talk to your lecturers.
Mm.
You're going to have to
That is
adjust,
true.
right?
Yeah.
So if you know all of that
Mm-hmm.
now, if there's enough horror stories going around. So if you know all of those areas maybe need attention, start working on it. Or if you
Mm.
are in articles and you're experiencing the ill effects of not knowing these things, make a plan
Mm.
to upskill. Go and sit in a library, get a mentor, go sit with your lecturer maybe. Do something so that it doesn't
Mm.
have to be a problem or it be unnecessarily hard for you to get through articles.
Yeah.
You
I think I think
so
next week I think sorry to cut you off. I think next week we must expand
yeah.
on the issue of victimhood.
Mm,
Especially in our space. I think
mm,
it's one of the things that we need to expand on, especially now that there's so many horror stories that are
mm,
going around about how CAs are being treated,
yeah.
how they're being underpaid. I think it's one of the things that we have to unpack and get into more detail.
Mm.
I think we scheduled this for an hour if I'm not wrong. So yeah, I think an hour is not enough.
I'm trying to land the plane. I'm not being very
Yeah, but I think
successful.
yeah, but I think there's still a lot of things that I think we have to unlearn. We've learned a
Mm,
lot of things. There's so many things that we need to unlearn.
mm,
And one of the things that we have to unlearn is always being a victim in
yeah.
situations where there's nothing that affects you in any way. So you
Mm,
want to be viewed as a victim in all instances instead of taking responsibility.
yeah.
So I think there's a lot of things we have to unpack. Yeah, also the Springboks are playing, so yeah, we have to also go support.
Yeah. That.
Yeah, yeah. We also have a responsibility to our country to support
See,
them. So that
I'm
is
wearing, I didn't even know they were playing today, but I'm wearing my,
Hey,
yeah,
you're already in support.
my blood is green.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mtho. This was very, very energetic. Usually
Yeah.
this is my last engagement for the week. And
Yeah.
I'm very, very tired, but it really was a stimulating, insightful discussion. Um,
Mm,
so
mm.
I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
us picking it up next week.
No
Um,
problem. No problem.
victimhood, I think victimhood communication,
Mm.
and communication skills are going to be, um, and this whole thing of time management that you spoke about, which is
Yeah.
another, it's another huge topic by itself. But I think we'll talk about those three things,
Yeah.
because we have to look there. We're having these conversations. All my content is out there. Other people are talking about it, creating content. So
Mm.
there's no excuse now. There's no
Really,
excuse
there's
to
nothing.
play the victim, because we are in
Yeah.
effect giving you power. We are encouraging you to think for yourself,
Mm.
to be an autonomous
Mm.
person. We're giving you tools. We're breaking it down for you. We're making all the facets easy, not just the legal side of things. So there's no excuse to
Mm.
stay. If you're gonna choose that, then it's literally your choice. If you're gonna remain powerless, it's your choice,
Yeah.
because there's so much of information, there's so many avenues to learn. If you don't take the bull by the horns and you let this whole thing of PVT and being a CA happen to you, then it's on you.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
because there's a lot
Yeah.
that you can do to mitigate the brutality of the experience. The
Mm.
system is
Mm.
what it
Mm.
is, which should actually motivate you to see how can I make it better for myself, because the system won't
Yeah.
change overnight. So if all
Mm-hmm.
of these tools are around and you're still not making it better for yourself, then you have the potential to reduce your complaining by 50%, where
Mm.
some of the stuff might just be bad habits that you have that's making it difficult. So you got the power to
Mm.
change that. Only you can change that. And if you don't do that, then if you have a negative experience, it's probably at least half of the fault is gonna lie at your door, you know?
Yeah. That's true.
And we
That's
can't
true.
be silly. We can't be silly people at this stage of our qualification journey and then hope to be successful when we qualify. You'll just carry over the
Mm.
same bad habits.
Mm.
And like you said, the cycle
Mm.
is this. We don't want the cycle to continue.
Mm.
You don't
Mm.
want to be the principal that you had. But if you don't change now with all of the tools that we are giving you, then you are going to perpetuate that cycle, and then you're just going to make life, the next generation, it's going to be harder when you could have easily broken the cycle. You know,
Yeah.
so let's pick this up next week. Um,
Not a problem. Not a
okay,
problem.
so thank you to everyone. We had quite a crowd. So I think that's also a positive sign. So thank you to everyone
Yeah.
who
Thank
joined
you,
and
everyone.
stuck around till this point to listen to our ramblings. We'll have Mtho back next week for part two, and we're going to talk about communication skills, time management during articles, and this whole victim mentality that we have among CAs that needs to be broken. Um, and of course, this video will be up on my YouTube channel at Law Mom Lisa, so you can watch it again and also share the video, because as I said, we have so much of resource available at our fingertips, and if we are not helping ourselves and helping others be better, then we only have ourselves to blame for um, our negative, our experiences being as negative as they are, right? So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Mtho, and
No problem.
we will chat and we will see everyone next week, Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Next. All right. Bye.